Okay. Okay, very good. So here we go. All right. Okay, so this is great, you guys. Very, very exciting. And I love how, look how different everybody's is. And that's just wonderful. It just shows you the range of this process. It is just, one of these things just full of surprises, full of possibilities. So that is super exciting to me. And, we are not going to spend a lot of time right now, but, and also I want everybody to kind of get used to how this goes when we show the work, so that you see that it is not about good or bad. It's like, wow, what did this person learn? How did this person get that particular effect? And I would also say that as we're looking, there is, and I really do want this to be a dialogue in amongst the class, asking questions and giving support, but to try to refrain from, the value judgments that so easily come. Like, we want to encourage each other by saying, I love this or I love that. But I would say that, if you are drawn to a piece and want to say that you are enjoying, that it's attracting you, that to try to explain what it is about that particular piece that you think is cool. So like, for example, here's Katie's in the middle, just bring her up because she knows me. Katie, this is, I'm enjoying, this repetition of this circle. It helps me to understand that this is a composition that relates well, that kind of thing. So I was qualifying, yeah, I'm drawn to this, Katie. This is pleasing to look at for me because XYZ. And that is a much more sort of helpful way to talk about each other's work. Because otherwise it gets very subjective and then it's not particularly helpful, I think. And it also helps us to understand how we might like to receive feedback as well. Because you can say, I love that, but that doesn't leave the artists themselves with them, with anything really to work with. It's like, oh, somebody likes it. Well, that's good, but I don't know why, what is it? And, it's always this thing about when we make our work, we, in some ways we do share it with somebody else. You may not want to share it, but in this kind of class situation, it does get shared. And so we want to always make the experience a helpful one in the class. So anyway, that's just my kind of way we do like looking times at the work, and underlining everything is, what did you learn? So as we see here, so what I'm going to do is just kind of go through this, fairly rapidly. But I think it is really good just to see what different people came up with. So, here's Christine's, and Christine is actually not here yet. She told me she was going to be a little bit late, but we'll just kind of go through these. And, I think so, our assignment was just to play with these three colors and to see what kinds of things, you discovered by overlaying these transparent colors. And remember, that is, the big learning thing this time was that, interestingly enough, these acrylics are transparent. You can see through the layers, and that makes it, that allows for a lot of the interesting thing that happens with this printmaking technique. And we are going to be learning, more about opacity, colors that will, paints, and how to make paints cover if you don't want everything to show, and how you can combine, them in that way. So, I just really just want to show and tell here, not to spend a lot of time, but just, seeing what everybody did so interestingly, and just maybe pointing out as we go through this, some different things that I noticed too. Here's one that's a good, I think, example of, I think this is a ghost print of a piece that maybe had a bit too much paint on it, although in this case, it's a really interesting texture. And so you may actually want to put more paint on than you actually need to, then get a ghost that is able to show this wonderful texture. So, it's just like, there isn't really any right or wrong. It's just, these are effects that we kind of see, they reveal themselves to us as we print, that you may want to learn how to harness to do it again, or just be aware of, oh, that's interesting, look what happened. And always as we're working, as especially at this early stage in the class, this is not about, try not to judge your work, try not to compare it. Just say, look what I learned. This is interesting. Wow, I didn't know. I think Mary Ellen is using a scraper that gives her this interesting sort of texture. And we'll talk more about that too as we go a little bit further. Some people are using commercial stencils that they might have already. I think, we saw the bottle cap top. I'm going to guess that this is a bottle cap top that was twisted and turned in the paint.
Yeah, those were
rubber bands.
Rubber bands,
Okay.
different sized rubber bands.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you have they're very even rubber bands. That's why I was thinking it was that cover.
Just long,
Katie. Yeah. And another one where we have a lot of textural things created by like a comb sort of doohickey, for lack of a better word. And another one where a scraping away, which is another way to create a mark on these prints. And I love how different people are using different color combinations. It's amazing. You all had the same basic 3 colors, and yet, we see just so many possibilities in terms of the way the colors overlap and create other colors. Did anybody notice that the order of the printing, depending on the color that you used, created different color combinations?
Yes.
Yeah. So, surprisingly, you may see, when you printed red of magenta on top of yellow, you got a different look than if you printed yellow on top of magenta, or magenta on top of yellow. I forget which I said there. So this is an interesting one where you see Katie having used, I bet that. So this was your main print, and this was your ghost. Wait. Whoops. No. The other one we just looked at here. Where was that? Anyway. But so we're seeing ghost prints printed on first prints, and ghost and ghost, many of the different combinations. So an ethereal kind of look, a kind of a process where you can really control how much paint you're using. I'm going to guess that Robin was using her brayer to, kind of move around and maybe not do the whole, or maybe picked up some more paint on one than another for the ghost. But it's so interesting, how we can get bold to gentle and delicate to, have a lot of motion in them. And Tammy got a lot, this really bright ultramarine, I'm going to guess, comes out when it's on top of the white, whereas that might be muted when you go over yellow or other kinds of colors.
And
so,
Adria, I have just a technical question.
Yeah.
So you see this one on like the right-hand side, you can tell that I had put too much paint.
Yeah.
And I did that intentionally because I liked this weird effect that happened. Is there a technical word for like, is it feathering or is it like puckering?
I think you should coin a word, Tammy. I don't know, but that's we could call them whatever.
Paint glop.
Ink blocks, glops or something. Yeah, exactly.
Adria?
Yeah.
There's a printing technique called dendritic printing.
Oh, yes.
Which you put a piece of glass, then you put your paint on it, and then you put another piece of glass and kind of squish it together. And it creates all of that kind of texture from it when you pry it apart. And that's kind of what these things are coming out looking like.
I think you're absolutely right, Mary Ellen. Good for you. Yes, I've heard it, and it makes a complete sense. Dendritic. Can you start using the chat? By the way, I want to encourage us to use the chat if you have a question or a comment, and not able to get it in there. Of course, I can't see the chat now on my thing, but dendritic. I'll write it. Anyway, somebody can write it. We do have a chat already. We have a chat. No, we don't have a chat. Okay, never mind.
We have a chat. Somebody did something. Dendritic. There
Yeah,
it is.
dendritic. Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't that the word for like a tree, something having to do with a tree?
Yeah.
'Cause that's
Like
a-
it's
it
from the
looks like a
creek or
tree.
something.
But yeah, like when you pull it up, or like the formations you get on ice or something, or where you have, frosting spread, and you get your piece of wax paper on top, and you pull it, and you get like a, yeah, sort of yeah, a sucking sound. Yes.
Or like branches,
Like
right?
branches.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Robin, I'm not even going to attempt to understand how you did this one. This is very cool. Yeah.
It's a collage.
Collage. Okay.
I'm so sorry. I have trouble following directions. This was my first one and I cut it up, and I like the book I'm taking notes in. I like to cover them with my art, and so that's what I did.
That's fine. No
Oh.
worries at all.
No.
Hey, everybody, the directions that I give for class are only outlines. If you find yourself getting on another tangent and having fun, go for it. Really,
Thank you.
I have no problem with that. This is certainly at the beginning too. It's just fun to see all the different experiments. I'm going to guess that you got this little dotty thing. Let me see if I can guess, Robin. Maybe from dropping water on your plate into the ink paint. Is that
Well,
what you did?
really what I did was I made a mistake. I didn't hear you say don't use white. And I put the white in. I only did it on the first one. I didn't do it on any others because then I heard that I wasn't
Okay.
supposed to use white. So it was very loose and it was white, and then I liked it the way it was, and so
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well, I still don't even know how you did that. Very cool. Okay.
I don't really know either.
So this is the dendritic stuff we were talking about. This like slurpy stuff. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah. So that's all good. And we will be collaging. Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that we're going to be doing in this class. Absolutely. Once we have our pile, which you probably are all seeing how many prints you can make very quickly. Yeah, some more dendritic or almost dendritic looks over here, Tammy. Yeah, and this sort of sunsetty, gorgeous color from the magenta and the yellow. I'm just really pointing out here, just to get us started, all the different kinds of ways. Sally, this is interesting. How did you get this one? Because it's an unusual one for what we're looking at.
I think I have to show you what I used. I can't
Okay.
explain it.
All right.
It came in a shipping box
Okay.
from Amazon.
Oh,
This piece of brown paper.
cool.
For some reason, it was folded like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's cool. Let me try that.
So
I didn't expect it to end up looking like a skull or an X-ray of a jaw, but
doesn't it?
Or
though?
like Roman columns. It looks
Yeah,
very
it
like,
does.
yeah, yeah.
oh, I like that better.
Yeah, it really, when I looked at it, it looks like this prehistoric jaw.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, that's gross.
Awesome.
Dinosaur jaw.
Exactly. You just never know. So what I'm guessing, Sally, is that what you did is you pressed that paper into the surface of the jelly. Is that right?
Yes.
I mean, into the surface of the ink, of the paint that was down there.
Yes.
just,
And then this is
that-
the ghost print.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really, really interesting. So that is definitely a technique that we're going to be playing with.
Oh,
Yeah, do you get that? So, right, she didn't use it as a
Oh,
stencil because if you cover that piece of the jelly with the whole thing, she would just get a big white area. But when you
Yeah,
just
that's
push it in and lift it up and then print.
oh my, what? Oh, wait, so what was underneath there? Just
no,
just
I
paint.
printed, it was just this orange color. I printed the first copy, came up as Adria said, with just a big white blotch in the center. And then I did a ghost print over it. I might have added some more paint, I can't remember. And this is the ghost print that picks up the
Interesting.
pattern.
Yeah, so you guys can, also get a lot of mileage simply by, putting textures directly into your paint and then lifting them up and then printing the texture. Or do, as Sally said, which is to first print, it's harder to see this. Sometimes it's sort of hard after the fact to kind of demystify how it was done. but that's basically, how we do that. Another thing that's really interesting to try, just FYI, and of course there's so many different ones, but you can take a piece of saran wrap or a plastic bag or even a latex glove, and just push it into your paint, lift it up, and then make a print of the impression that was left by the wrinkles. It's a really interesting technique to try. Same kind of thing. You're simply, dropping something into the paint and pulling it up, because that plastic pulls up paint by itself. Everybody following me on that one?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did that with something.
Great. So yeah, let's see. Let's just go see some more of Sally's. Yeah, and a little bit more dendritic stuff here. And just kind of a more of a minimal approach. Let's see, Christina, actually, she put these up right after the class was over last week. And she is using colors that are part of her own, and I'm also saying that, like I said earlier, if you wanted to buy more colors to play with, please feel free to do that. This color I think is called nickel azo yellow. I could be wrong, but do you see how it's sort of a really pretty, almost like a rusty color? So that's really fun to do in combination. And you'll discover that as you just play with different kinds of color combinations, more than the ones that, I gave you just to start with. There's all kinds of opportunities to play with color there. Bubble wrap, a very well-used, I know, thing that gel plater enthusiasts really enjoy playing with, and easy to access, as is corrugated cardboard.
I'm glad that you said that was bubble wrap, because it looked like a really exquisite bracelet.
Isn't that
And
amazing?
I was thinking it was an earring.
Yeah, no, but do you see
I
how the
want that
little plastic thing smushed down? This is what I was talking about, when you literally push it into the surface of the paint and pull it up. You
Pull it
cut
off.
your jelly, your bubble wrap into like a circle, basically cutting that part out and cutting this out. Then you have, all kinds of things you can do with the shape of the bubble wrap that, and then the beauty of this process too is that if you didn't know what it was, you would really have trouble guessing. Like, I bet nobody, now that you all know that these are rubber bands, you can guess, but the person who's not done this before will be very stumped about, what was this material that you used to get that effect, which is, so much fun to do too.
And Adria, I have a question that you might want to answer later on.
Yeah.
But, just the whole idea of using templates.
Yeah.
I started getting excited, and I was like, what kind of material is sort of the best to use to make templates if you want to do something very stylized?
Do you mean a stencil, or do you mean
yeah, like a stencil.
Stencil. Do you mean like a commercial stencil?
Well, that's the thing. If I didn't want to, brave the cold and go out in the world to get a commercial stencil, what could I cut up, like tin plates, or just do
Funny
paper?
that you mentioned that, because just today we're going to be working on that. How fortuitous.
Glad I read your mind.
Yes, thank you, Tammy. Yes, we will be talking about that. And the answer is, whatever flattens down that won't cut your plate, you can use. Short in a really short answer, but yes, absolutely. So this is another one of Sally's cool things. And now when you go to the grocery store or get packaging, I bet you'll all will be looking at all this stuff with new eyes. Like, what would be, what can I use to make prints with? Let's see, Kate, I'm not seeing yours. Did you put them up?
Yeah, these two are mine.
Where?
On the top row, the third and the fourth in.
Oh, you were anonymous. Okay, great. Okay.
I wrote my name below. I guess I didn't quite.
Oh,
And
there it is. Okay.
I really am I took horrible pictures.
No,
but-
it's fine. It's fine. This is to troubleshoot. This is great. No, it's really perfect. And, you can see, just the amazing color combinations that you can create, and the shadow of this blue that I know is under here. And that created this circular thing where you wouldn't know. It's so amazing just to see all the possibilities. Yeah. So I mean, anybody else have questions or comments about any of these that are up here that you're curious how that person did it, or
I have a
Um,
question for Mary Ellen.
yeah.
Yes,
And the one that's number 6, I love the deep dark blue outline. It looks like it's outlined.
Let me see this one.
It says-
I
Did
put
you-
blue paint down and then I took a palette knife and scraped
Oh,
off.
okay,
And when
Yes.
it,
I
when
wondered
did
how
that, it
you got that
created that
effect.
line.
okay. And then in your number 2, you have some white blotches in the,
Let me
How
just
did you
put on
get
my
those white-
glasses so I can see.
that must be what you, oh, you must have used, did you
It
use a
was-
stencil?
Yeah, it's a stencil.
Oh, okay.
And it's the same stencil that occurs in a couple of the others. And I had
Okay,
blue paint on it and I printed the stencil. So some of the areas come out blue and some of them come out white, or, you know, whatever
Yeah.
color.
Yes,
Okay.
because this is the color of your paper. Am I right?
Yeah,
Mary
mhm.
Ellen? Yes, okay. So
okay.
this is
Thank
one where
you.
no extra white was used. No white,
No.
no white paint. It's just using the white of the page. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, great. Anybody else have questions that they are curious about? How it
I have
was
a
done?
question.
Yeah,
Katie's, the second one down from the top. There, it's red with the white and the blue.
this one,
The one above it.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
There's a lot of clarity in the color there.
yeah.
You know, my colors tend to be more muted and fused. And I'm wondering how she did that, how you get that.
Well, this kind of relates to a question that I had. When I think I used a lot of paint, like on the red. That first, when that's a very, there must have been a lot of, I must have put a lot of paint on that. And I think that also too, these were different rubber bands, okay? And I put them down at different times, but I would press around the rubber bands so you would really see it as a circle. There's another one that blue on top was a ghost print of it.
This
And then-
here,
Yeah.
the same one, yeah. Yes, I think,
I think, but then it was kind of interesting that this blue that was on top was lifted up. These rubber bands were really strong and kind of hard.
yeah,
And so the ghosty effect of the blue was there's kind of an interesting pattern there. But one of my questions is I like the ones that are more ghostier and subtle, softer colors and how well they mix. And if you look at the one below, the one of mine, just below the one,
this one.
yeah, like those are very strong,
Yeah,
defined shapes.
yeah.
And I think I used kind of defined shapes, but also I think I used a lot of paint.
Yeah, so, right, to answer, I think that's right. And yeah, it doesn't look like you yet use too much because I can see, so, this is always the question, and I like to use this function so that we can see the paint. Like I said before, or last week rather, the nature of this process, the nature is that the paint always will look a little bit grainy on your paper. That's just how it is. But it doesn't look like there's too much. Really, but you're right. On this one especially though, Katie, I think in terms of getting clarity to Kate as well, it's
Yeah.
pushing hard on using your fingers.
That's it. That's it.
yeah.
Yes, it's pushing hard.
Yeah,
That's right.
right around the
And
shapes
around-
that you're trying to get. Yeah, making sure that you can feel them and really striving to push hard right around those areas, and
Yeah.
that will give you a crispness. Kate, does that make sense?
I was wondering, is that ink or is that paint?
Paint.
Yeah, I wondered that too.
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
Oh, because
Oh.
wait a second. Oh, okay, yes. Last week, when I was home,
Yeah,
I did not have I had this is the Speedball jelly plate. And I used the inks. You are exactly right. I
okay,
used
there you go.
the inks on that one, but the one below it with the zigzags on it,
Yeah.
I've used the other gel plate that I have down here and the open acrylics.
Yeah.
So there was
Yeah.
a difference between the two.
Yeah, interesting, right. Well, they both came out really well. And, you know, in terms of getting your your crispness. And so, yeah, I think it's possible to achieve the crispness, just kind of, you know, we'll keep going back onto that as we talk. Yeah.
How
to
much I
to
press
try to
down.
figure it.
That's the right answer. Thank you.
No, you're all, you know, it's all great. Okay, so what I want to do today is to talk a little bit about sort of the next kind of step to think about. And so let me show you first a video that I made about just printing with black, and then we're going to talk about using two colors. And I want to bring in the use of just simply cut paper today. What does Sally say for our brain cells? For what? Brain cells. Say that again. You're muted. You're muted still. That's okay.
Dendrites are the
Oh,
the
dendrites are brain
branches
cells.
that
Okay, great.
extend off the brain cell to reach the other brain cell next to it and
Yes,
communicate.
So we're going to talk about using paper as a stencil. So last week we played with just found objects, and I purposely didn't spend time talking about you know, composition or design or anything like that. I really wanted you to feel that, you know, last week, you know, and as we move along, it just be playful and don't worry about what you're doing. You know, that will come. You're going to learn how to control some things. You're going to learn how to, you know, play with some of these aspects. You know, we'll learn a little bit more about, you know, the language of art. But that's not something that should be the forefront. But I think the best way to do it is to go ahead and print, but learn a little something new each time. So let's just look at this first video that I want to show you to kind of frame this conversation. So I'm going to share my screen, and let's see here. Pardon me. Get rid of all this stuff on my thing here. Okay, printing black and white. Yes, so I have a number of these videos, and this one I'm actually going to keep the mute on because actually there isn't even anything on it. In fact, I purposely did it so that I could narrate through this. So this is using black paint all by itself to show you that is a pretty cool way to work as well. And of course, we didn't use black last time. We didn't use white or black. And I, again, am trying to keep the variables at a little bit of a minimum. Even letting you use 3 colors was a bit more adventurous for me last week. I usually just keep it to 2, but that's okay. So this is black. And it's interesting. I noticed that I have a little bit more paint here. I can see how it's glaring in the light a little bit. I kind of really put a lot of paint. It's all right. But look what I'm using for a stencil. A very, very thin, looks like a hair, right? It's a very thin piece of plastic nylon, you know, hook.
Fishing line.
Fishing line, exactly. And I'm just basically, I'm throwing it on here. I'm not, you know, really organizing anything, kind of letting it do its own thing there. And just to show you how you can just, you know, use your imagination to try anything at all, I'm going to print this black. And now you'll see that I'm really, you know, careful in terms of as I'm printing. And in fact, this time around, I wanted to get a bigger stencil. Do you see how, rather a bigger, not exact. I'm not printing it and I'm not pushing hard. And Kate, here's this is an example, I'm just gonna stop this here, of consciously, not pressing really hard because I didn't want a really fine line on this particular print. By not printing too hard, do you see how much black is still left on the surface?
Yeah,
That was intentional.
yeah.
I know that I can do this, so I did do this. And you're also going to know how to do this, and so you'll be able to do this as well. Where by holding back a little bit and not gathering every single little atom of paint, I'm, getting more space. All right, we'll just continue to go because there's another one. I'm going to show you that I do the ghost one on the other side, and I do really press hard. So this is going on the other side, and here I, can feel with my fingers where the nylon is. So I'm going to try to grab as much paint as I can, and you'll see the difference. There you go. So do you see how much more precise and clean that was?
Mm.
Yeah. And now I got a whole lot of really cool stuff still here. And I'm going to lift my nylon, put it away, and grab the rest of what's on this plate and get some more really cool impressions. So this one, I could have taped this down. I guess I didn't decide to do that, but I'm just doing it now and pressing really hard to grab as much extra paint as I possibly can from this time. So, picked up not very much here, more here on the second, and really trying to grab all the rest of the paint so that at the end of this printing, I probably could get more. Yeah, but look at that. So this is pulling up as much as I can. But isn't this an interesting, effect? And each one of these is so different. I happen to love black and white prints. I think they're really super powerful. You get a lot of interest, even without the color. So that's something we're going to be playing with today. So that's just to and I think what I did here at the end is just to show you the differences by letting you really see what I got. So that's the very first one. And again, you would never know how I got this if you hadn't seen me. And I love, that when people are new to this process and they see a new effect, it's just a really big wow. Wow, like how did you do that? So anyway, all right, that's that one. Now what I'm going to do is show you. Yeah, question.
Wait, can I also just comment on this last image that you're showing?
Yeah.
So you can also see the strokes of the brayer.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, yeah, I really love that.
Me
Yes.
too. I really like that.
Exactly. And that is the beauty again of this process where it really will pick up, things that you never anticipated would show there. And I think, it was because I was using quite a bit of ink and really putting it down. And as you saw too, there's still more on that plate that I could easily print. And this is, the beauty of it too, is that if you see something still in your plate, go ahead and take a random sheet of paper, just take it and you'll be able to use it another time. By the way, I will be showing you next week how you can go back to print more on a print and get it registered again. Even
I
if
was
you
just
put away
wondering
everything.
about that.
Yes, so there is definitely a way to do that. All right, so let me now close this one down and show you one last one before we get started, because these two really will make sense together, and I think will really set the stage for our printing today. Okay, so this is narrated. What I want to do actually before we do this is to optimize the, hold on a second here. Are you guys seeing anything? No, not yet?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You are? Okay. Just if you're seeing the image, hold on a second. What I want to do now is just to optimize it for the sound. So, okay, there we go. Now, You know what, let me just skip over this. I want to get to the place where we're, all right. Okay. Wait a minute here, hold on a second. You know what, this isn't the right one. Hold on. Sorry. Let me just bring up the other one that I really meant to show you. Just give me a second here. Yeah, what I wanted to show you, yeah, just let me just bring it up real quick. Meanwhile, yeah, any questions about that particular one that I showed you just now?
The one that you just, no.
Yeah,
the
the
one you-
video that I just showed. Any questions about that? Not yet? Okay. So what I want
Black
to
and
do is
white one, the black and white one.
the
you
black
mean?
and white one. Yeah. No, we're good.
So do you always start out with a pretty good heavy coat of black to get those three difference?
Well, yes. I mean, I think when you're working with black and you really want a very rich black, that's not the time to be
Go
skimpy
light.
with your paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
On the other hand, you guys all see, you know, what can happen if you have too much is it just kind of, you don't get as crisp an image. I mean, that may be something that you want to do, but what you want to be able to do is to be in control of it. So, you know, if it is, you know, doing any of these things, like it seems like it has just too much paint on it, and you don't want that, you also want to know, you know, how to correct that. And it's usually just by pulling a print. Pull one print, get rid of some of that top ink, and then you'll typically be fine after that. So hold on now, I'm just trying to get to the part
So
that I
you
want.
control it too by how much you press down on it, right?
Yeah, exactly. You definitely can control it. You know what? I'm going to actually just, oh, darn, this is what happens. Sometimes I pulled out the wrong video, but just let me get this one here. Colors here. Sure this is correct. Yes, this is the one I wanted to show. Okay. Did you have a question? No? Okay. All right, I'm going to share the screen and we'll go with this one. All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about doing a design with two colors that would expand a little bit on our discussion of negative and positive, and also thinking about the use of color. So in this print, I'm going to use two colors. I'm going to use magenta and yellow. And actually, I'm going to, in this one, show you how to mix one of your other kinds of paints with this open acrylic gel medium. This is gloss, so that you understand, you know, really how you can take any of your paints and change them to behave more like an open color. So is anybody trying to do this? Does anyone have extra colors, other acrylics that they want to?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
great. So this is
Is
very,
Yes.
yeah, this is a good
Does
one.
it matter? I have matte. I have open, medium, matte, not
Doesn't
gloss.
matter.
Does that matter?
No,
Okay.
it meant, yeah, because you're not putting on the paint thick enough so that you can actually see one way or another whether it's gloss or matte. So it doesn't really
Oh.
matter.
Open acrylic gel matte is the stuff, is that
Yes,
right?
yes, yep, or glossy. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm going to take my quinacridone magenta. No, excuse me. I'm going to take my diarylide yellow and turn this is high flow, which is the thinnest viscosity. It's like almost like the consistency of acrylic ink. And by adding my the gel medium to it, I'll make it behave more like the consistency of the open acrylics. So let's do that first. So I'm just going to use a little container like this. There's paint on here, but it doesn't matter because first of all, you could peel it off, but since it's already dry, nothing's going to happen. And I'm going to shake high flow up a little bit. And I'm going to squeeze a little bit out onto my palette here. I don't need a lot because it really goes quite far. And I'm going to open my gel medium. And it's white when it's wet, so don't let that scare you. It really won't change the color of your paint at all. And I'm reaching over here to get my palette knife. I'm going to take much of that. I probably am not going to use all of this. I think it's just going to make it too runny. So I'm going to just mix up my paint here. If this gets too runny, it won't really work all that well on your jelly plate. So you don't want it to run all over the place. There we go. That's going to still be a little bit transparent. So I'm going to add a little bit more. You know, trying to get this, it's kind of like cooking, you know, and all I can say is the more you do this, the better you understand how much you need and how to add it. But there's so much pigment in golden acrylics that it really does go pretty far. And the only danger of adding too much gel medium to the paint is that it becomes a little bit more transparent than you might want. So here you go. So let's give this a try. I'm going to start with yellow and put my yellow down first onto the jelly. I just want to say too that you can mix, you know, those things together and just not even have to mix them separately like this. You can just do the mixture right on your jelly plate. This is just, you know, for the sake of showing you. So either one is really fine. And clean. I can see that, yeah, it's a little bit thin, but that's okay. I think that should do it anyway. Little fragments in here, and I think that's because I was being messy and didn't clean my palette. And I think some of the dried paint is getting stuck in here, but that's all right. So that's what happens sometimes, but at least we know why. That's why it's a good idea to use clean things. And you can see a little bit of on my roller too, but yeah. All right. So I'm gonna take some of these shapes, skinny rectangular shapes here. By the way, this is simply printer paper I'm using. It's very low tech, but very dramatic and, you know, very, very easy to use. So I am using paper stencil making here as part of what we're doing today. And what I did this time is I didn't cut them all the same. You know, I've got some thinner ones and some thicker ones so that we have a little bit more variety. I like to overlap. Overlapping is always a good idea. You know, kind of a little bit more visual interest to your piece. We go again with the diagonals, you know, where I like the diagonals. Gives a feeling of energy. And I like to go off the edges. Right? So all right, that's going to be our first color. Hi, Claudia. Hello. Whoops. All right, let's see. So let's just go back over this. Let's see that skipped a little part here. Okay. All right, that's where we were. I didn't register it, but I'm not too worried about that. It's going to be interesting no matter what. Oops, a little bit of sideways, but I'm just doing this to show you possibilities. So here you can see that I'm using the the palm of my hand, the heel of my hand, actually, to really, get the edges of the paper, and you'll feel the paper, you'll feel the edges underneath your hand, and you'll know that if you want a crispness, that's when you really, can push fairly hard to get that.
And you press on the paper.
Yep,
the stencil
right through the
paper.
paper. Yep, you can just really feel it.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh, the piece that's missing here is that I actually used, a black.
So getting more interesting for sure. Where the yellow and the black come together creates, geez, a nice kind of a warm gray, right? Warm gray, would you say? That is. And now we're going to do one more color here, one more color. Because one of the things that I think this lacks is a focal point. It's a nice halfway piece. It's interesting. It has rhythm. In other words, we have these varied shapes that kind of flutter across the page. It's got movement because things aren't stagnant. They're not all symmetrical. It's an asymmetrical composition. And the colors are interesting, but my eye isn't drawn to any one particular place. Maybe if it's drawn anywhere, it's drawn right here to the extra white. And what I like about this though is that I've also repeated the white in other places. So it's not just one place it's white. It's a little bit of repetition. This is still the largest place, but still it lacks punch for me. So we're going to do one more color here that may or may not work, but at least it will help us to understand how we can make our compositions interesting, more interesting. So,
but I just want to stop and say that, as I was talking about this in this video, I'm being very subjective about it. Like, in some ways, this is a fine design. There's really nothing wrong with this design. You might think it needs a little bit more drama. You might not think it needs drama. What I'm doing is I'm trying to talk through, sort of what might go through your head as you're working, and just maybe sort of model to you how you might think about, what to add or how to add shapes to your piece. I guess, like I was saying before, and I know everybody has different backgrounds in terms of, having, done much art before or whatever. But, one of the things that can help your designs to cohere, to be unified. And by the way, that is, one thing that you might want to go for as a unified design. It is one of the things that you learn about in art classes. It's really about what we're trying to do here is understand how the human eye and brain work. Like, how do you, good design is simply, how do you control the viewer's attention? That's what design is. It's really how to control a viewer's attention, how they look at a piece and what they're getting out of it. So it is subjective, but again, I'm just sort of talking you through some of the things that I might be thinking as I'm doing. So again, there's no right or wrong about this at all. It is just, choices, possibilities. So let's go ahead from here.
interesting, more interesting. So we're going to put that to the side. I'm going to pick up these pieces of paper and I'm going to do one more color. I'm trying to think here what color I really would like to see. What might be really interesting. So let's just talk about this together here. Actually, I think the thing that would really be good here is not to introduce another hue, but to just go with a stronger, darker version of one of these colors. And I'm going to choose black, I think, because we had the gray and we see the gray here. And so let's just go with black as being our final color. And let's just see what that looks like. So again, I'm going to take my open black. Clean off both my items here. Don't really worry about cleaning that up. I don't think I need to. I don't think there's that much pain. And I also know that black will subsume that yellow that's on there. I won't even realize that. I just like to avoid having to clean off things that much. So, and again, this doesn't need to be super, super clean because we're just going to use black. Just depends on what color that you're going to go for, whether you really need to clean up. So, put some strong black down here. Surface. And going back to our same design element. Let's see what happens. It's random because we don't know exactly. I'm just going to hope for the best and believe that because I'm using the same design elements, repeating the design elements, that I will end up with a strong composition.
Yeah, one of the things that we know about design is that things on angles
There's really no way of knowing exactly what.
Give us more of a feeling of movement, which is something that I like to try to put in my work, this kind of feeling of movement and space and falling and tension and excitement. If you wanted to make a piece that was more calm and more centered and more focused, you might do a symmetrical design. You might have lines that go vertical or horizontal. So, but this is something that I just know that I can do by using these
we're going to get here, but that's kind of the fun of it.
Diagonal
Just
shapes.
Don't really know. So the more of these I put down, the less black I'm going to have on my piece. So I think I want not as much black. I think I want to get rid of some of the black. So I'm going to keep adding my design elements to cut down on how much black we have. And I'm hoping that the black kind of gives it a punch and gives the focal point. I also don't want the focal point to be directly in the middle. You don't kind of want a bullseye effect, just because it's not that interesting, really. We want to take the focus away from the center. So I'm going to add. All right, let's see what we get. And I think just for the fun of it, I'm going to flip it and print the bottom on the top and the top on the bottom.
And again, pressing hard so that I'm going to get really crisp edges.
Okay, pull it away. All right. There we go. I like it better. I really do like it better. It certainly got more power. I think it's still lacking a little bit of a focal point. But anyway, this gives you an idea of how you can develop a print and what kinds of things you can take into consideration as you do that.
Okay, so questions?
Could you go through the beginning of how you got the gray, the white, and the yellow?
Yes, so I I inadvertently skipped over the part. The gray was a ghost from a print that I had done earlier with black. So the gray was simply a ghost with the same design elements. And I'm
Okay.
sorry, I mistakenly skipped over. That's how I got that. But so, all of the whole print was really the same design elements, even the same stencils, cut just a bunch of those shapes. They were similar, but they weren't exact.
Mhm.
Make sense? Did that answer your question, Ellen? Yeah.
Yes.
Sally, I think you were next.
No, I had the same question.
Okay, yeah.
So you did the ghost with the gray, then you did the yellow.
Yeah.
And then you did the black.
Yeah. So I thought what we would do for this next, hour for you guys to work on is a similar kind of approach where you're just using black and one other color. And you also will be playing, with this kind of a thing where you notice that I use yellow last, obviously, because yellow will be really hard to use. I printed with yellow at the beginning. The black was my last color because it's much darker. So you pretty much always want to think about putting your colors down in relationship to how light or dark they are. Since yellow is so light, it's typically a color that you would use first. And then after that, since our colors that we have here are magenta and blue, they're both pretty dark. So, it's all bets are off with which one comes first. In that case, it almost doesn't matter, but we're going to keep those other colors out of the picture today. We're going to just kind of focus on, why don't we focus on just using yellow and black? Darn it. Yeah. And let's see what happens when you print just black and white. So do a bunch of ones where you just print black and white, like I did in the earlier one, and then use some of those black prints and print yellow on top of that to see what you get as well. How does that sound? Just to kind of, for our purposes in class, to limit the possibilities in order for you to expand and get and feel more comfortable with it. Because sometimes if you try to do too much at one setting, it gets very confusing. But let's really limit it. Let's just do black and yellow prints with, using white of the paper to come through. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, so just have fun playing with all of those possibilities. Black and white, then black and gray and yellow, back and forth. And as far as your stencil, I would suggest that it might be fun just to use paper and cut up shapes. As you can see, a lot of times simpler is better. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or dramatic or ornate. It can be simple as just lines, and you can get plenty of mileage from that. You could use squares, you could use circles, you could use half moons. Really what you might want to use for your variables is just smaller or larger, Okay, so let's have at it. Let's go ahead and play for the next, say 40 minutes. And I'm here to troubleshoot with anybody who has any issues or problems as you're printing and see what we come up with. And we'll stop at around 20 of to then take a look at what we've got. And as we've done before, I'll ask you to take some photos with your phone and upload them to our Padlet so we can look at everybody's. It's much easier, as you know from last week, much easier to look on the Padlet rather than holding up what we've got, just too hard to see. Okay, so go play and let me know if you have any problems. I'll just be here the whole time and answer your questions. Ellen, yeah.
Yeah, I found this open acrylic medium mat that I had, but I was wondering, can I use a gel, just a plain gel, or I should use the open?
You want to use the open medium to make your regular heavy body paints stay wet longer.
Okay.
So if you can use that thin stuff you're using, Ellen, as long as you're using heavy body paints, because you need a thicker body. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And as for how much, I would start with half and half, approximately half your medium and half of your heavy body paint. Just mix it together and see. And if it's too much medium, just add a little more paint.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know the exact, perfect combination of that, but it should be fine.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah. Katie. Mhm.
So you talked about, like for the stencils to, you say like stick to one kind of shape and
Mhm.
then vary it with sizes.
I think that's the smart thing to do just at the
Okay.
beginning. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I had a question.
Yeah.
I don't have any of the medium, I don't think. So
You
just,
don't need any.
I don't have to.
No,
Okay.
because you've got all open paints, Kate. You only need medium if you know, don't have it or you want to add a color that you don't happen to have. Yeah, in the open. Yep.
Thank you.
So, and feel free. I'm going to mute everybody. You can play music on your end. Do whatever you need to do to get yourself comfortable and relaxed, and then just call out to me if you have any questions. If you even want to take yourself off the video, you can certainly do that too. That's no problem. You might feel less sort of exposed that way. That's totally fine. On the other hand, if you need me to see something, of course, we'll put the camera back on, and that's fine too. So just a little bit of suggestion about how many of these things to do. I think just, go ahead and explore. I would say that you just keep working until I say to stop, which means just keep experimenting. Do as many as you have time for. In other words, you're not done until, the time is up today, so that you feel free to go ahead and work and play and experiment and try new things. So, a number of ones that are just black and white and gray, so that you are running through possibilities with just that one single color. And then a couple of them that are ones in which you're adding the yellow to, on top of the gray, on top of the black, trying out different permutations of that.
Adria, did I understand you correctly that it's best to start with the light colors? I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Thank you. So, of course, there are caveats, Kate. Yes, you did hear me say that. However, I'm thinking that when we did the gray, I printed yellow on top of the gray, which was fine. You could print the gray easily on top of the yellow. But yes, generally speaking, when you're using, regular colors like yellow, magenta, and blue, it is best to start with the yellow. But of course, I just contradicted myself, didn't I?
You had talked about just playing around with black and white first, though, right? Too. So.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's so much to be gained from just playing with black and white. It's really exciting. And we'll be doing, more exercises where we really will be using, the different printings of a monochrome palette, which means just using one color. So that'll be something else we'll be playing with soon. Not today, but soon. So we have about another 5 or 6 minutes to kind of complete your work and take some photos, throw them up on Padlet, and hope that goes well. If you have any problems with that, just email them to me and I'll do that as well. And then we'll be able to just take a look and see what people are doing and see what you've learned, see if we can troubleshoot, anybody has problems or questions, and see what we had fun with.
Okay, we'll try to get ourselves back to the Zoom, and I will know that you are ready when I see you back on the see your video back on. So we'll just wait for that.
Adria,
Yes.
I just sent you an email
Okay.
with mine. I
Okay,
don't
good.
have Padlet on my phone and I don't have my good camera here, so.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yep. You know, you don't need to have your Padlet on your phone. You can
Oh,
just,
no, I didn't know that.
yeah, just tap the link. It should be in the last email that I sent.
Oh,
And
let me
then,
try that
then you can just upload directly from your phone.
Let me try that.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm just trying to clean up.
Okay, no worries. I see you. Yep, perfect. Yeah, we're just waiting for everything.
I'm sorry, I'm just, I forgot to come back. I'm just trying to load up my thing.
Okay, no problem. No worries, Robin. We'll just go to my email to look at yours. Not a worry. So you don't need to have the app on your phone to be able to do this. I did make a video that I sent to everybody last week. I hope you saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, some of it doesn't sink in. You know?
Okay. So you don't, yeah, I thought you needed an app. You don't need the app. All you need to do is have the link, and then you go directly from the link to your album and then just upload. Yeah, there is not a way that I know of yet to upload more than one image. I'm sorry. You have to go one by one, but you know, put one or two up. You don't have to put a lot up. We're just, you know, at this point today, of course, we're still looking at, you know, how are we doing? How are we feeling comfortable with the process?
Okay, so I'll give it a try.
Yeah, just all you need is a link that I sent for our Padlet page.
Okay.
How do you get your name to appear at the top?
I don't know.
All right, so I'm just gonna put my name in the subject.
That's fine.
Yeah, I had to write my name in the subject a couple times
Yeah.
because I was
Okay.
doing it directly. I wasn't doing it from the app, but yeah, I figured it out.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to, you know, don't worry if you're still working, take your time. What I'm going to do now is share our screen and look at our Padlet and just sort of see what people have uploaded and see how this has gone for you, just to see what you've learned and to see, you know, the variations. I love it. I love seeing these variations. Oh, it's actually really good to keep everybody with the same color. You know, it's kind of makes looking at these a little bit more consistent. We're not always going to have to, you know, use the same ones. It's just the very beginning of this class, first couple of classes.
I do think it's good to limit our possibilities. So great. So if you're ready to look, yeah, what I'd love to do is just stop at each person and, very briefly, because there are 8 of us today in class, 9 of us altogether, to very briefly have you say, what did you learn? What were some of the, and if you had an issue or not. So I may just stop you if you're going on a little too long, because I just want to make sure that we get to everybody to talk. So Katie, we're going to start with you because you're top up here on the screen. What did you learn? And you want to unmute yourselves too, so we can hear you.
Yes, this was great. Just sticking to the 3 colors.
Yeah.
And what I played around with is the, I started out with the black and put arranged stuff and
Yeah.
and had 3 different, like versions of, solid to ghosts, and then lay it on top some more of the same things. And then with this one here, I went over, I did yellow,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of faint. So I did another thing of yellow. I did another yellow and put another set of larger things down.
Uh-huh.
So the yellow is a lot stronger, and actually it's the shapes come out. There's a whole nother level of intricacy and what happens with the eye because of it. So that's what I learned from that one.
Yeah, and I'm pleased to see that we created green here. I mean, I don't know how many of us all realize that black and yellow make green, but
I see that.
here. Pretty cool, right? And Katie, what's just interesting about yours is that you did print yellow last on top of a pretty strong black, and you were able to make it show quite well. You're right. This really does prove the, go against what I suggested, which was yellow first. But every time I say you can't, don't do this or don't do that or shouldn't, someone proves me wrong. So I love to be proved wrong. Great, Katie. And let's just look at this. Oh, this is Kate. And Kate, yeah, what did you learn here?
Well, this was the first one I did actually, and I liked it better. I like it kind of horizontal, but it's loaded up that way. But what I've learned in doing these is that it's really easy to kind of end up with a very muted, too much paint, too much, like lose your design. This one, I did sort of quickly and, was able to get the sharp colors, which I'm.
Great. Yes, you got a nice sharp.
That's what I'm playing with.
That's great. Lovely.
A little sharper, and I have one that's very muted. I don't know if I put it up, but
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm pleased that you sort of have figured out this sharpness, and this has also the layers with the gray and the black are really interesting, and you get all these ghosts. This is the kinds of things that we're going to be playing with. These unexpected, wonderful things that pop up. Despite what we're trying to do. So that's great. Mary Ellen, what about you? What did you learn?
That you can print a ghost on top of a ghost and it still comes out kind of halfway decent.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And some of the best, some people feel that their strongest prints are ghosts on ghosts. Yeah, because of the muted, sort of soft, subtle color and shape. Yeah. And here's your main one, or is this a ghost as well?
That's also a ghost.
Okay.
It's after I pulled up the string.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I printed it that way.
Exactly.
And not to be judgmental, but this is my favorite of everything that I've done so far.
This one here?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like there's a lot. I like how it's like the movement.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah. So right. I mean, it doesn't take a lot. Yeah. just to say that it doesn't, to have something that we are happy with, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the most complicated one, for sure. All right, let's see, we'll just go through quickly with that, Mary Ellen, your other ones here and just.
So that I put the yellow over the,
yeah, okay, yes, and we have
black.
this lovely green, right? It's
Yeah.
a fun green, so sort of underwater feel. And Katie, here's your ghost of one of these too, which is quite nice.
That's
Here,
interesting.
I wonder if people wonder how you got this outer
Yes.
edge. Do you want to say?
I was wondering.
Well, what that's from is I had two going from the black,
Yeah.
the first one I did. And and then I peeled off the pieces
Yes.
and then I put it down. There was nothing on there.
So
when
this is just so I can help people understand. This is the ghost print of the last black one that you did, where the pieces of paper are gone. It's just that this is what happened here is that there's a little bit of paint that gets stuck between the very edge of your paper stencil and the jelly itself, and you get lines. It's like one of the only ways you can actually get a line in monoprinting. So very, very cool. Good thing to know. Yeah. Great.
And the nice thing about it is there was everywhere else, there was hardly any black.
Yeah.
So that was what really jumped out, was the outline when I pressed.
I know. Yes. So see, there's so much to be learned, and also to capture from what's still on the print, on the plate, even when you think you've already got all the paint off of it. All right, Sally, let's see you. You're getting us back to our familiar little corrugated cardboard thing you had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. What did you learn?
The only thing I learned really is that black and yellow make green. That surprised me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was wondering though, what if I used, instead of yellow, what if I used white paint? Would that, is white too opaque or something? Or?
White is opaque. Yeah. And this
Okay.
is what we're going to be learning next.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be adding white to our colors. And it's fine to do that. The issue, however, is that you will tend to lose, that some of the transparency. I mean,
right.
Yeah,
okay.
and we'll be playing with that for sure. But great. So you had a couple of ones that you played with here, and allowing this black to come through. And even though it's fun because to look at any person's given print, it's always going to be like, well, how did they do that? Which came first? Which came second?
Oh, that's the other thing I learned, is that I have to write down what I'm doing because I completely forget how I did that. I mean, if I don't write it down step by step, I can't tell you what I did.
That's what I have to, if I'm going to learn, I have to start doing that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, is this a coin that you put down?
No, it's I can show you. It's a I guess it's wood. It's just a button that's attached to string that was wrapped around something I bought online, and it was really pretty. I thought I liked that.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So let's see, Tammy. Wow, what did you learn?
Yeah, so I learned at least two things, if not more. I started with like an index card, because I thought that the stencil would like last a little bit, but it really turned out messy, and I could really only use it like once or twice. Because the paper itself, I think, just started disintegrating. So and I thought this was hard enough stock, but I think if I try a harder stock, maybe it would last longer.
Yeah.
And also, let me confess that I didn't have any open black.
Oh,
so I just kind of grabbed whatever acrylic paint that I had.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing like how it dries much quicker.
Yeah.
And to deal with that, I kept, I have a little bottle of water sprayer.
Oh, yeah.
Is that good or bad?
Well, I mean, it depends on your effect. If you got effect that you like, then it's fine.
Well, because I made prints with that as well. And like when it loosened up, like it turned into a whole other.
Well, exactly. It's going to be a thing. It's another thing. Yeah. Typically, I would say not to add water, but then that's just typically, I would say, go for it, try it,
Is there anything that I can, like, is there any like weird combination of paint that is horrible to put on a jelly plate?
No,
Like
not
I wouldn't
really.
use oils.
I wouldn't use
right?
oils because the
Yeah.
oil in the oil paint may make the surface of your jelly plate very sticky.
Yeah, but as long as we stick to acrylics.
Acrylics or watercolor or tempera paint and things like that. So the thing to do you can actually print with heavy body paint with regular acrylics. You just have to use more paint. You're basically gonna be printing with a lot of paint and having to deal with that. Otherwise it will dry too quickly. But yeah, there's always ways to
I
do
have
it.
fun dealing with problems like that.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
long as we
I
get-
have a student, who she never used open paint, and her whole process involved like lots of very thick layers of the acrylic paint, and they were really quite interesting. So there's nothing that's not possible.
Right. Okay, good.
Okay, so Tammy, you did another. This is a good one. Yeah, I've seen people use the perforated edges of their paper, and it makes a wonderful stencil.
And I think I printed both of these like a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I know that Robin sent me some, so let me just go to my, let's see, Robin, did you send this to me here? Ellen, did you see? Oh, yeah, you did. Okay, so let's look at Robin's prints here. Okay, great. Robin, what did you learn?
I learned that I need to, right after this class, learn how to upload on the Painterly. And I learned that this really challenges the way that I think. And so it's really, I just went really slowly and to try and understand, because I don't think I did understand the first time, even though I liked what I got. I thought it was they were really pretty, but I didn't follow directions. So that's what I did. And yeah, when I was in the bathroom, I really I took a pit stop before I started, and I wiped my hands on paper towel, and so that's what I used. I used paper towel.
Very good. Yeah, look at that. That is pretty incredible. Like I say, the simplest materials can sometimes be amazing, effective, interesting pieces. Yeah, right. Very, very good. All right. Love to
Ask
see
a
that.
question.
Yeah.
So, like if you go back on one of these others or many others that are on here, what if you wanted to add, like say this one, for example, you wanted to add like a red or, some color. How could you introduce like a little bit, like one area you want to splash?
Yes. We'll be learning that, Kate.
Oh, we
Good
will.
question. Yes, you will. Yes. So there is a way to re-register your prints, and you can, yes, there's absolutely a way that you can add to a print once it's done, and also to very much, get another color in a certain place. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But you may have to wait a little bit to learn, but we'll get there. I promise you soon we will be, doing it. Probably in the next class will show that. But yes, you can do that. And, we are going to be learning a lot about what to do with these prints, and maybe, and to collage with them, and to paint on top of them, and to draw with them, and to do all kinds of things beyond, simply, having them on a piece of paper. So there's just a lot more to come. Great. All right, let's go to Ellen. Okay. Yeah, tell us what you learned.
That I still have to practice more technique.
But this is very interesting.
Funny though, I did learn that if you don't quite love the design that you do in the beginning, when you keep manipulating the papers,
Yes.
you can change it. And it's a little harder for you to put the papers down. Like,
It's hard to put your paper down.
I didn't want rectangles or, and then I got too many rectangles. So then I had to try for the triangles in terms of putting the papers down.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's exactly right. That's just one of the things that I love about this process is that they're not done until they're done. And, you know, and there are many things that you can do to each print to continue, you know. You can print many different colors on it. You can manipulate by collaging. You can, you know, there's just a lot of ways to play with it. Ellen, you're right. But I'm wondering if did you use a sponge to get this texture?
I don't like the texture I get. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but I don't.
No, that's okay. I mean, just wondering, let's see, what I
I'm
want to do is,
using the, you know, heavy duty. Well, actually, I couldn't find my black, so I had to go upstairs and I opened up this old black that I had.
oh, that's what it is. The black was drying too quickly because it's not open acrylic.
But I used that other, you know, I used the open.
Oh, okay. So you maybe didn't use quite enough, Ellen. So
Okay.
that's, yeah, because that's what's creating the little bumpy texture. But yeah, that's, you know, you just have to play with it. Like I said, you know, it could be that that's already pretty dry and maybe the open, just you need to use more of both or whatever. But yes, if you, I mean, I think that it definitely creates an interesting texture. It may not be the one that you were wanting, but
It wasn't the one I was after.
but yeah, you'll get much cleaner, crisper edges if the paint you use is, you know, the open, depending on what you're looking to do. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, I think, you know, you achieved a lot, even then, all the stuff that you're learning. And I think this is very effective, even with this, you know, the texture, it's really, you know, got a lot of layers, you know, the gray and the black combined with the white, you know, gives you this feeling of depth that, you know, it's something just to know that you can do. So excellent. Anything else? Let's see, did we look at everybody? Did I get it? Everybody? Yes? I think I did. Good. Okay. So it's time for us to stop, but thank you so much. Great work, everybody. And I will concoct an assignment and send it to you via email with a little video, and also send you the video of this too, so that you can go back and look at any given spot. And I will see you next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Wednesday, excuse me, Wednesday, 11. Yeah.
Wednesday.
Okay, bye-bye.